happy to be. I think I'm dying here, man.
Through the haunted mansions and floors that creak, they lead us to the places from which we dare not peek. A journey through fear and the realm of the night. In every word they speak, our hearts ignite with fright. Welcome to the horror show, the Deep Cut Podcast, where nightmares come alive, ready to take their blow. Tune into the chilling delight on the airwaves of the night. Let the darkness grow. Let the darkness grow.
Aw, yeah, it's that time again for another weekly episode of the Deep Cut Podcast with your host, Rottin Roger DeMarco. And today, I'm doing something crazy. I am blown away to be sitting here with the man, the myth, the legend, director, actor, effects artist, pretty much everything you can do, you do. The one and only Addison Binek.
Yeah, you got my last name right too.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. A lot of people do. Not people do.
For the uninitiated who auto-download or whatever, most of the folks that listen to the Deep Cut Podcast are kind of used to a structure, a format of covering a specific film. And we're branching out and we're bringing on actors, directors, and you were at the top of the list, dude, because for the people that don't know, I mean, you're a jack of all trades. You do so many things, and I felt like I needed to bring you on and have our audience be introduced to you. So, real quick, I'll just have you introduce who you are, officially what you do, and then I'm going to jump into a bunch of crazy-ass questions for you. So, let your rant and ramble.
Okay. Well, I am Addison Binek, and I am the co-creator, co-director of the Psycho Ape series with Greg DeLito. But I've also done, for about 10 years, I did a show called Movies to Watch on a Rainy Afternoon on YouTube, which was kind of like a bite-sized Mystery Science Theater 3000 / riff tracks, where I would review and riff on cheesy B movies. You know, these episodes would go anywhere between like 10 to 15 minutes, sometimes 20, depending on the movie, how many jokes we came up with. And it was kind of like, you know, just best of the worst clips from these cheesy movies with my own satirical commentary sprinkled throughout these clips, edited together in kind of a review format.
Yeah.
We had 133 episodes of those, and I have been taking a much needed break. You know, I haven't done one since like March. I did St. Patrick's Day episode, like Leprechaun in the Hood was my last one.
Nice.
That was about 3 years ago, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. And I don't know, 133 episodes of anything, that's a lot. You know, I've said what I needed to say, and I'm just taking a break.
Yeah.
I also used to work with Troma. I did 2 episodes of a full-length movie ripping show called Tromasterpiece Theater. The first movie was The Battle of Love's Return, and the second one was Poultrygeist. Lloyd Kaufman hand-selected those films for us to riff on. We built puppets, rented out a movie theater, filmed ourselves in front of a green screen so you see our silhouettes at the bottom, and we had pre-written scripts from watching the films repeatedly. And so as the movie played out, we would just recite the jokes from the scripts that we had in our hands, and we would, notate the time codes so that we were synced up properly and said the jokes at the right time.
Yeah.
So I did 2 of those. And my other project, Magnum Opus, which is a Jackass-inspired feature.
It's so good.
Thank you.
So good.
I'm really proud of that one. That's one of my favorites. That was an experiment from a few years ago. I took, 15, 20, I don't even know how many mini DV tapes, and I digitized them for the first time since like high school. These tapes are old. They're 15 years old.
Yeah.
Bordering 20 at this point. I graduated high school in 2007. So all these mini DV tapes, these high 8 tapes, VHS tapes, digitized them for the first time. And I took the footage and I extracted all of the stunts, pranks, skits, and I laid all these clips out in chronological order. So you see me and my friends grow older in this hour-long film. We're 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, 25, 28. And then the footage quality gets better as the movie plays out too. Right. So you start with crappy VHS, you go to high 8, mini DV, digital, 1080p. And it is essentially, like, I wish that I had come up with this tagline, but this is from a review. Someone called it Boyhood Meets Jackass. And that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, that nails it. I want to say this about Magnum Opus, dude. Oddly, surprisingly, like, emotional, like, hits, you know.
I wasn't expecting that, but I really like that that's kind of what happened because, again, it is a time capsule of my teen years and my early 20s with my core group of friends. Some of those people have passed away, some of them moved away, so I'm not as close with those people. But whenever I get to watch that movie in a theater with an audience, it's like I'm reliving my childhood, I'm reliving my favorite moments of my life. And, you know, it's emotional for me too. And the fact that people can connect to it because they, you know, they've grown out of their friend groups, you know, people have, you know, had children of their own, they've gotten married or they've moved on or just sometimes just grow apart from someone that even though you've known them for 20 years, you know, you're not in the same place as you were 20 years ago and you're just different people. So it's just, it's nice to sort of remember as a time capsule, you know, what that friendship was like. It's a reminder for me every time I watch it, like, yeah, I'm not as close with that guy anymore, or I'm not, you know, that guy has passed away, but I always have these memories in a movie, and it's also, it serves as entertainment for others.
Yeah. And I can totally relate to that because I used to do a ton of backyard wrestling with all of my buddies, and since then I've had buddies that have moved away or passed away. And like I said, when I was watching Magnum Opus, I'm not ashamed to admit, like, you know, you cry because you're like, it's crazy to have, like, to watch someone grow and go from a little kid to an adult. And it's like you said, with all of the relationships, like, oh, so-and-so will, like, they'll get married or, you know, or they'll move away or whatever. But you have all these little snippets, these sections of time where not like, where you can tie it to, like, I remember after the camera was done, like, we went and had Dairy Queen, or we went and did this, or, like, you know, so you, every time you watch that skit that you did or whatever, you just get this, like, you're in the DeLorean. You get to go back in time and be like, man, and relive what it was like before life got in the way. And it's awesome, dude. Like, I'm tearing up even, like, thinking about it. So, for anybody who doesn't know about Magnum Opus, there will be a link in the description, obviously. Buy it.
It's free on YouTube. It's free on YouTube, but then if you buy the Blu-ray, there's 37 more minutes of deleted material because I only really wanted it to be like, you know, it's 63 minutes. But I still, after watching it with audiences, I feel like maybe it's a smidge too long. I feel like maybe 60 to 61 would have been more appropriate just to have the audience for an hour. But there's 37 unused minutes on the Blu-ray, tons of deleted scenes. You know, it's just stuff that I thought, like, funny, but maybe not as funny as some of the clips I ended up using. But I didn't want to just not use the material. So it's on the Blu-ray, you know, so if you buy the Blu-ray, there's even more material.
Which you should.
And,
watch it for free, then buy it to support. You know, our audience is big. They're massive physical media. People that watch our channel build video stores in their houses. So buy the damn Blu-ray.
And, you know, obviously my intention was never anything more than like, oh, I'll sell maybe 100 copies or something, maybe even less, like 50. And I'm about 200 sales in, and, you know, I sell it at conventions and I sell it on eBay, and it's got like 1,000 views online.
Yes.
But it's the people who have gotten the film too that I'm really particularly proud of. Because, I mean, there's skits in Magnum Opus that are heavily inspired, not just by Jackass, but just early MTV, you know, like early 2000s MTV.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Tom Green and stuff. There are clear Tom Green inspired skits in the movie. And 2 years ago, I went to a Tom Green stand-up comedy show. And after the show, I was waiting outside with a friend of mine, and we gave him copies of the movie. So Tom Green has in his possession, I don't know if you've ever watched it, but he has in his possession copies of both Psycho Ape 1 and Magnum Opus. So he was filming us too. It's like he was filming the whole interaction, and he put that entire 17-minute long conversation, on YouTube, uncut. Mm-hmm. So that's on his YouTube channel. Just have to scroll back 2 years.
Hell yeah!
And also, in 2024, I flew out to California because Zach Ass, who was one of the newest cast members in Jackass Forever, he's a fan of my work as well. He's more of a fan of Psycho Ape, but I was able to go on his podcast studio in Los Angeles, and we discussed Psycho Ape and Magnum Opus, and I gave him copies of my film as well. And then the very next day, I went to a screening of Jackass the movie, like a 20th anniversary screening, and I met with Jeff Tremaine, camera operator, Rick Kosick, and I got to hang out with Jeff Tremaine back at his studio office in, I think it was Burbank. And we just, for 3 hours, I got to hang out with, the director of the Jackass franchise.
That's so crazy bucket list business going on right there.
And I gave him copies of all my movies too.
Yeah.
So, doing all this and never stopping, never giving up. I've been able to, give copies of my films to some of my heroes, Tom Green, Jeff Tremaine. It's just, that's sort of the thing that I was not expecting, but has been an added and more than welcomed bonus.
Yeah, that's the cherry on the top for sure, man.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So kind of tying into Magnum Opus, I kind of want to, the first question that I like to ask people is, at what age were you when you were kind of bitten by like the creative bug? When was the first time, and it doesn't have to be filmmaking, but like what was your first foray? Were you like into, doing plays for school or whatever? Like what was the jump off point for you where you were like, man, I love creating. I love this avenue of expression.
Well, I definitely have always loved movies. My dad, he had a VHS camcorder when I was a kid, and he was always filming home movies and stuff. Mm-hmm. So of course, when you're a little kid and you have this device that can capture things, either mundane or funny things, and then you learn how to stack two VCRs on top of each other and edit little mini movies with your friends. It just kind of took off from there, I was always renting movies, I was always watching movies, and I was always inspired to just sort of want to create my own content. And I would, record things in my backyard with my friends and later edit these mini movies together with two stacked VHS or VCRs with, you put the blank VHS in one, and then you have the master tape on the other, and you just hit, stop and record, and you can figure out in an afternoon how to edit a little mini thing. And so that's been a thing since I was 7, 8, 9 years old, having that video camera. I mean,
nice. Yeah.
The very first clip of Magnum Opus is my friend Jonathan and I at our elementary school jumping off of play structures and jungle gym and monkey bars and all that stuff. And that is from footage from that home VHS camcorder that my dad used to film, trips to the zoo or Christmas morning and stuff. Yeah. And then he knew what I was using that camera for at the time. I'm sure he would have wrung my neck. But if he was still around today, because he passed away long before I was ever really making movies, even before I had just been accepted to film school. But if he was still around today, I think it would blow his mind that these little movies, these these stunts and clips and things, and things that he would have been like, what the hell are you doing with my camera? It's a very irresponsible, don't tell your mom. But now these movies have played theatrically with Jackass films. Magnum Opus has played with Jackass the movie, Jackass number 2, and Jackass 3D in California with Rick Kosick and another camera operator in attendance. So, literally, I don't know, that's just... It's been this long trajectory, and I just kind of stuck through it, and just year after year after year, just continuing to film stuff and hone my editing skills, because I do, except for Psycho Ape, I pretty much edit everything else. Tromasterpiece Theater, I personally edited all 133 episodes of Movies to Watch in a Rainy Afternoon. My friend and I, we kind of took turns editing chunks of Magnum Opus just because there was so much material to sift through. Yeah. But the majority of the stuff that I make, I edit. Except for Psycho Ape 1 and 2, that's my partner, Greg.
I'll tell you this, man. If I ever film another feature, I'm paying someone to edit. Oh,
Yeah.
that was the longest year of my wife and I's life. We spent a year editing, and I was like,
It's a
no.
process. It's a process.
Yeah.
You have to really like it. You know, you have to really want to sit at a computer for, you know, the longest I think I ever did like a quick, like when I was editing movies to watch on a rainy afternoon, when I first started, it would take like 14 days, one after the next, to watch a cheesy bad movie while writing jokes with the time code on the television, you know, ripping the file from the DVD, cutting up the movie according to the time codes that I wrote down just so that I could get those clips kind of corralled together on my timeline and delete the rest of the footage that was never going to use. Record all the jokes, edit the audio to the movie, and, you know, calibrate the audio so that it sounds natural and not like cheating, like,
Right.
you know, because the way that I always saw like riffing on a movie is don't put your joke on top of a dialogue, because
Right.
then it's too conflicting dialogue. Wait for a moment or a gap in time and then throw your joke in there. But this whole process of like editing, plus I filmed like host segments, you know, mimicking things or spoofing scenes from these movies. The whole process used to take 2 weeks. And then over the course of 10 years, I shrunk it down to 6 days. So
Yeah.
I did the South Park thing where I was able to turn an episode around in 6 days if I worked on it like in chunks every single day. But there was one time where I didn't have much time, or I wanted to get the episode done because of my like 10th or 11th anniversary of the show was coming up. And I was like, gosh, I only have really like 5 or 6 days to really finish this episode. So I spent like 13 hours just editing, and that was too much. That was sort of like the end of the line where I was like, you know what? I don't know if this is something I really want to be doing all the time anymore. I think I need a break.
Yeah.
So I only did maybe like 2 or 3 more episodes after that 10th or 11th anniversary special, and then I've been taking a break ever since, you know, just because it's a lot of work. It seriously is.
It is.
To sift through a cheesy movie and record all these jokes, because, you know, I watch it with friends, these movies. I watch these movies with buddies, and collectively, I mean, we come up with pages and pages and pages of riffs and jokes, and then those handwritten jokes get scaled down to like, well, you know, I don't need this one, or that one's just kind of arbitrary, or that might be a funny comment, but I don't really need to use that clip because it doesn't really tell the story of the scene. Because that's kind of what I look for in these cheesy movies. Like, you know, yeah, a cheesy clip with a funny joke is funny, but there's no context in it.
Right. You gotta create like the abridged version of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an abridged version of the movie and then an abridged version of the scene itself. So it's like, well, there's important dialogue in this scene that moves the story along. So let's spoof, or let's riff on this scene specifically, because then it'll help later when you don't have context for some of these other scenes.
Exactly, yeah.
And so it became a whole to-do. It became a whole thing of like figuring it out. Because like sometimes, because what I wanted to illustrate with these episodes was, you know, sometimes you can just like watch this and you get a gist of the movie in 15 or 20 minutes and you don't have to sit there and watch the whole thing.
Right.
Plus I make it funnier and more fun for the audience with hopefully these funny jokes.
Yeah, and it's hilarious, dude.
Thank you.
It's good stuff. But you know how you're saying, like, sometimes, you know, you just need a break and you got to step away. I think that's important because when you wear as many hats as indie folks do, because a lot of people don't realize, like you said, you're writing it, you're directing it, you're editing it, you're doing all of this stuff. It's not like you have a massive team where you can delegate tasks.
Nope.
So it's definitely important to be like, I need a year, I need X amount of time, I need to step away, I need to focus on something else, because otherwise you just burn out, and then it's like it becomes.
I've experienced plenty of that too. Plenty times, just burnout of just like I overexert myself. You know, seriously. Again, in 10 years, I made 133 episodes of a movie riffing show. You know, it's 15-20 minutes each, and turning a project around in 6 days, and then the very next week doing it all over again. Like I was so fast at some of these that I was doing one a week
Well,
for a while. And that's why there's so damn many episodes. It's because like in 2018, I got it down to a science. And so every week, every like Tuesday, I had a new one. And even my coworkers, when I used to work at Walgreens, they were just like, hey man, I can't keep up with your show anymore. I'm sorry. Like, I like your show and I think it's really funny, but I'm like 3 episodes behind. You got to slow down. And I was like, I can't slow down now. Like now that I figured out how to do these in 6 days, like now I've got the rhythm.
And this is my schedule. Yeah.
Right. So
I must go.
I got to go. Like this is my time, you know?
Yeah.
So now that I've taken like 2-3 years off, I can sort of sit back and reflect and be like, hey, that was a lot of work. It still exists. Just because some of these episodes are now bordering on like 10 years old now, they still exist.
Yeah.
They're still there. I riffed that movie. That episode is there. You know, maybe I'd be a better writer now or a funnier joke writer now or a better editor now, but it doesn't matter. You know, there's 133 episodes to choose from.
Right. It's all in the can. Like it's, you know, it's a part of your creative history. It's like, this is your filmography essentially, you know, like, these things I've done them. Now it's time to move on and, you know, go somewhere else.
It's like having a ginormous like body of work. You know what I mean? And then it's not just movies to watch on a rainy afternoon. There's 2 episodes of Tromasterpiece Theater, and then there's Magnum Opus, and then there's 2 Psycho Apes. So there's just like a ton of stuff out there that I've worked on in some capacity, whether it's the writer, director. You know, I star in movies to watch. Yeah. And, you know, with Psycho Ape, you know, I have little cameos, but I was behind the scenes and wrote everything. And then, you know, Greg cut and shot those movies, but I was still there. I was still present, and he would send me rough cuts, and we would approve them together. So I'm involved heavily in every single aspect of every single thing I've ever done. Yeah.
When you're doing all of these things, has there ever been, because I know there has for me, I deal with it a lot. Has there ever been like a moment where you're kind of struck with like imposter syndrome and you're like, you know, what am I doing? And then like, if that's happened, like how do you like forge through it instead of just kind of like giving in to the voice, so to speak, you know what I'm saying? Like, and being like, well, I guess I am an imposter and I'm done or whatever. Like, how do you push through and be like, next project, I have things to do? Like,
I mean, I basically let people speak for me. You know what I mean? Like when I go to conventions and stuff and people are excited for whatever new Blu-ray I have at my table, or someone wants a signature or something, I oblige, but I just always kind of feel like, why do you want this? But that's cool. That's fine. You know, they want to collect signatures and they like, you know, they like all my stuff. Like I go to certain conventions, like there's Cinema Wasteland in Strongsville, Ohio. And I have a number of people who will pretty much buy anything new that's on my table. And it's like, that's really neat. You know, I just, you know, I feel, you know, humbled and lucky that, you know, I've reached certain audience members that really like the stuff that I do.
Right.
And, I just say like, don't think about it too much. And that's even hard for me to say because I'm always in my own head. But, you know, it's just sort of let the audience speak for you. You know, again, you know, I've traveled a lot of places that I've been to for screenings of Psycho Ape or Magnum Opus or Tromasterpiece Theater. A lot of those things were invites. So I don't feel imposter syndrome when I'm being invited. You know
right,
what I mean?
Yeah.
If I were to like go somewhere and expect like lay out the red carpet for me, like I would never do that. But I mean, that would be the wrong approach. But if someone is like, hey, you know, we want to have this, like the reason I met Bill Whedon for Psycho Ape in the first place was in 2019, Tromasterpiece Theater got booked to play in a double feature with Sergeant Kabuki Man in New York City.
Nice.
So I flew out to New York, and the promoter who was putting on the event, they put me up in a hotel with Bill. And so we were like roommates in this, you know, swanky New York City hotel, and we both attended this double feature of Tromasterpiece Theater and Sergeant Kabuki Man. And it was, you know, one of the first times anybody had ever treated me like that, where it was just like an all, you know, I felt like a rock star.
Yeah.
But I didn't let it go to my head, you know? So don't let things go to your head, first of all. But second, you know, enjoy the ride, even if you aren't quite feeling maybe you deserve it, because somebody thinks that you do, you know?
Yeah. That's really good advice, man. it's a very tough thing, you know, when you are working on something and you're just like, you're trying to get out there and get people to notice you. And, you know, sometimes it takes it because you're doing it by yourself. So it takes longer than like if you were like with a studio or whatever. So, it can really take its toll on you.
Oh yeah. I mean, Psycho Ape 1 took a year and a half to make because of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
We started shooting in 2019, summer of 2019, and then everything shut down, you know, obviously early to mid 2020. And then we didn't really wrap the movie until August of 2020. Like those were just the final like insert shots or just things that like we just, you know, it's the final pieces that are the most boring things to film. You know, a shot of bloody hands, a bloody banana hitting the ground, all the boring crap that you forgot to get when you were actually in the middle of shooting. So once we got those final clips and everything, again, we started in like March of 2019, didn't finish until August of 2020 because of the pandemic. And we were ready to kick that fucker to the curb and just be like, I am done with Psycho Ape, dude. I'm done working on this. I'm done watching rough cuts. I'm done shooting insert shots. I am done. And when you get to that point, it is kind of easier to like detach yourself from the movie and be like, this is the public's problem now. I'll promote the hell out of it. You know, I'll do what I can to sell copies at conventions, and I'll send it around. You know, I'll send it to whenever I get a new movie made. I submit it to online reviewers, you know, like I'll just send it around and collect reviews. And, you know, I'm a self-taught promoter where the best way to do it is, you know, back in even just a couple of years ago, like 2017, 2018, you know, IMDb was like the place to go for movies.
Right.
Now we have Letterboxd.
Yeah.
And Letterboxd is kind of a miracle for indie filmmakers because people love Letterboxd. And indie people watch indie movies on Letterboxd. So what I do now is I'll go to Letterboxd and I'll look for my films on there. I'll take screenshots and I'll post those screenshots because again, they're not fabricated. These are complete strangers on the internet who found Psycho Ape or Magnum Opus on YouTube or Tubi or somewhere, or Night Flight Plus, and I just post the screenshots. And so the reviews, you know, speak for themselves, even the bad ones.
Right.
You know, that's one of the things too is you know, don't take yourself so seriously. Don't be like really egotistical or conceited, or, you know, we're all working on movies that are like $10,000 or less, or if you're lucky enough, you know, maybe at most $30,000. I don't really know, but that's still low budget. That's still really low budget. So if someone doesn't like your movie, don't take it personally. Maybe the movie wasn't for you, or they have impossibly high standards or something. I mean, my advice is to try to make a comedy anyway and make fun of yourself. But I know that that's not everybody's cup of tea. That's mine. You know, it's sort of a self-satirical jab at Ed Wood and Troma style filmmaking. That's just like my style.
Yeah.
And things that I like. But, you know, some of the 1-star or 0-star reviews that we've gotten for Psycho Ape are almost funnier and better than the 4-star or 5-star.
We live for the 1-star reviews at 3B Video. We literally, when we cover a movie, that is one of our segments where we pull up one of the funniest, like whatever movie we're covering, and pull up one hilarious Amazon 1-star review. And, you know, like you said, they're better than the, I love this movie so much, you know, they're so awesome.
I mean, it's flattering to have a 5-star review, sure. But when someone is like, it took me 3 days to watch an hour-long film, and it's like, well, nobody told you had to finish it.
One of our favorites is, that's what started it, is my co-host Evil was looking up reviews for Nightmare on Elm Street because that's his franchise. Yeah. And there was a review, a 1-star review that was like, somebody please tell me why I have to pay for a movie that was made in 1984. And we laughed so hard we cried. And
like, do movies just become free because they're 40 years old?
Yeah. I don't know, but it killed us. Yeah. And then and we were like, you know what? That's part of our thing now. Is we're gonna spotlight some 1-star reviews, but Tapehead is not without 1-star reviews as well. So, you know.
I mean, you know, I've gotten 1-star reviews across the board. Like I've gotten 1-star reviews for Psycho Ape 2 from people who liked the first one, but you know, the sequel was not what they were expecting. That's another thing too. Is I would recommend not making the movie that you want. Don't make the movie that you think people want. Just make the movie that you want to make. And if it isn't received well, then that's on the audience. You know, at least you got to make the thing that you wanted to make that you're proud of. Because Psycho Wave 2 is a lot different than Psycho Wave 1, but that was by design.
Right.
Because, again, Psycho Wave 1 is a parody of slasher movies and guerrilla films. And when we were done with the first one, I was done. I did not want to do Psycho Wave 2. I was done. I was like, dude, we spent a year and a half fucking around, you know, killing people with bananas. There's 30 kills in the first movie or more, you know? And so it's like, how many more banana-related deaths can we come up with? I'm over it.
Right.
So, you know, once we started selling a lot of copies and the fan base kind of grew a little bit, I was like, well, okay, they won't stop asking us about Psycho Wave 2. And what would that even look like? Because I don't want to do the same movie again. Like, seriously, I don't. We did that already the first time. So we, not on purpose, but we kind of did a Gremlins 2 approach where Gremlins 2 is Joe Dante. He was given a blank check by Warner Brothers to do whatever the hell he wanted. So what did he do? He made a live-action Looney Tunes cartoon starring Gremlins, and Gremlins 2 is a parody of Gremlins 1 in every avenue.
All of that is in the actual movie.
Yeah. I like Gremlins 2 more than Gremlins.
You gotta. I'm with you on that, dude. 100%.
But that wasn't we didn't go into Psycho Wave 2 with that mindset. That's just kind of what happened. Because the fan base for Psycho Wave 1 was kind of nuts. And we were just like, well, you know, whatever we do, if it's not just the same movie all over again, they're going to hate it regardless. So let's just do what we want. So I pitched the idea of having like a parody of courtroom dramas. You know, I was like, well, how many horror sequels are based around a courtroom where like Michael Myers is on trial or Jason Voorhees is on trial or Chucky's on trial? Could you imagine how stupid that would be? It wouldn't make any sense. These characters can't talk, or they're just, you know, Chucky's a doll. He could just go into doll mode and not speak. So I kind of thought that, like, well, wouldn't it be funny if they have Psycho Ape on trial? He can't talk. And then we just stole dialogue from A Few Good Men and gave back to him. So he can talk for that scene, but otherwise he can't. Yeah. So that was the idea, was we want to do a live action cartoon, Looney Tunes cartoon, Gremlins 2 kind of inspired, courtroom drama parody, but in a Psycho Wave film. And it's even more than that. It's like a weird 70s like hangout movie where nothing really happens. The characters don't really want anything. There's no real plot. There's no real story, but that's all by design. Yeah. We just wanted to make something that was just kind of like the complete opposite of what the audience was even like expecting. And that's what I live for, subverting expectations and not giving people exactly what they want. Because if it was just another movie of like the ape killing 30 people with bananas again, I would have been bored on set and I would have been like, didn't we already do this? Like, I'm bored. I'm bored creatively.
Right.
So that's why the second movie is like a total like flip-flop parody of the first movie. And it's way more meta because like even halfway through the film, there's a Spaceballs inspired scene where the characters are shilling VHS tapes from lunch meat, DVDs and trading cards and things that are real. Like you can't buy those things. Yeah. But it's totally just like Psycho 2 is way more meta, self-aware, and a parody of Psycho Ape, you know? And there's not too many sequels that would have wanted or been like brave enough to do that. Right. They would have just hated themselves. And I was very adamant about, if we're doing a part 2, I don't want to do the first movie again. Yeah. And I think a lot of people may have been expecting the way that, like, you know, when you watch Evil Dead and then you watch Evil Dead 2, Evil Dead 2 is the first movie kind of again, but with a much bigger budget. Yeah. And but we did Gremlins 2. And I think that kind of threw people off, and they were like, oh, we thought maybe it was going to be a bigger budget, which means like bigger kills, more nudity, and we didn't do any of that.
Yeah. Well, you kind of touched on this, but I mean, with what you were just saying, but a lot of, you know, they say that our filmography, our work is kind of a reflection of like who we are, like what we like, what we love, like what makes up our DNA. So I mean, you basically answered it, but like, what do your projects say about you as a filmmaker? I mean, you already said you love to subvert expectations and just be like, guess what, motherfucker, you thought this, now have this. And I love that. But if you want to elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, again, I've gotten to a point where I've made so many things that now I'm just kind of experimenting. I just want to see like what sticks, if anything, if whatever weird thing I want to try and do finds an audience, because I've already made things that have found an audience, and I just don't want to make things over and over and over again that are like a sure thing, because where's the fun in that creatively? I talked about this on another podcast about 2 weeks ago. I've been posting stuff about it on Facebook. So, I mean, this is kind of an exclusive, I suppose. I started shooting Magnum Opus 2 over the summer.
Yes.
I bought myself a new 4K camera, like as a treat to myself. And I went into it thinking like, okay, I'm going to start shooting new stuff, and it's going to be for Magnum Opus 2. But after I got some footage in the can, I started editing stuff, I kind of realized that like it's not really Magnum Opus 2. It was more a bunch of scenes that were like weird food eating things, like food contests and people eating weird stuff. Like I went to a convention in Pittsburgh called Gross Fest. Okay. And director Daryl Hook was there. He's the director of Stoner Snake. Nice. And he was going to eat 20 hot dogs, you know. I was going to film him, but he only mustered through 5. He couldn't finish 12. So the very next day, there was an actress there. I always get her name wrong. It's Mel Heflin, I think. I think it's Heflin. Okay. Not Helfin, it's Heflin. I get the F and the L swapped. But she volunteered to try to finish the rest of these hot dogs. And so she ate about 7, and there were still more hot dogs. So another guy that was there, Dan Komerick, I see him at Cinema Wasteland and Gross Fest. Super cool guy, super fun. He volunteered to try to eat the rest of the hot dogs. He ate about 9, and I still had more hot dogs. So I threw the rest away. But now I had like 50-some minutes of these people trying to eat hot dogs. So I took 50 minutes of this, and I truncated it down to about 13. And I didn't want to cut any more. And I was like, you know, a 13-minute hot dog eating skit in Magnum Opus 2 isn't really like ideal to me, because Magnum Opus in an hour has like 60-some skits.
Tons of stuff.
Tons. They're fast. You know, it's fast-paced. And I was like, I don't want to bog down Magnum Opus 2 with a 13-minute long hot dog eating thing. So why don't I just make this the opening of a different project? So I just opened up a whole new project file, and I stuck that as the first thing. But then also over the summer, I filmed a skit where the girl who defends Ratatouille in Psycho Ape 1 and 2, she knew or was aware that I was about to start shooting Magnum Opus 2, so she pitched me this idea of she wanted to eat a sand sandwich, where we go to a beach and we cover the bread with peanut butter, and she sprinkles sand all over the peanut butter and eats a sand sandwich. So we went to the beach and we did this. You know, I got the peanut butter and the bread, and her friends were already there, and I filmed her for like 20-30 minutes, lathering up pieces of bread with peanut butter, and she sprinkled sand on one half and put it together, and she ate it, and I filmed the whole thing, the whole beginning to end of her putting peanut butter on there.
No heroin needles or anything in there,
Lots of goose poop. It's pretty dirty beach. But then she made a second sandwich, this time spreading peanut butter on one side and taking the piece of bread and laying it flat down on the beach. So it wasn't just sprinkling sand on there. This time it was a flat piece of bread covered in peanut butter on the sand. So every inch of that slice of bread had peanut butter on it. And she ate that too. So I cut that down into like a 7-minute segment. So that 13 minutes that I already had now became 20 total. And then I filmed another skit of...
Did she die?
No, she was totally fine. And it was her idea too. I wasn't me pitching this to her. She wanted to do it. And then we filmed another skit of my roommate at the time. He volunteered to we put a blindfold on him, and he was like eating a bowl of popcorn. But while he was eating the bowl of popcorn, we took an electric bug zapper, like one of those big like tennis rackets, and we were like zapping him in the elbow and the fingers and the toes while he was trying to eat this popcorn. So then I kind of was like putting all this together, and I was like, I've got like 30 minutes of a movie here, and the theme is food. Every single segment has food in some capacity. So I'm going to call it a hot documentary, 55 minutes of people eating food.
Nice.
The opening skit is hot dogs, and the rest of the movie is just going to be various other food items. Like I have another skit where it's not even like eating food, but the test footage for when I first bought that 4K camera, I also went to a local like candy shop that they sold these like gigantic lollipops, like huge ones that you would see in like, you know, like the Munchkins.
Yeah.
In like the Lollipop Guild. Yeah. Not that big, but like a medium size.
Yeah.
And so I bought 3, and me and 2 other friends of mine took turns smashing them over each other's head like a Three Stooges skit. Those fuckers hurt, man. And like they're thick. They're thick, and like this shit's like flew everywhere in like 4K. And so it's really funny. Like, so there's going to be elements of like Magnum Opus in there of like, you know, us smashing lollipops and getting zapped by an electric bug zapper.
You gotta mix in a healthy dose of bodily harm. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's the sort of, because you can't, I mean, my plan is to make it 55 minutes tops. Because I'm still going to treat it like it's a real movie, like it's a real release. I'm going to send it to these same conventions that I go to. Because I just imagine like it playing in some screening room off to the side. Some guy wanders in with, you know, some snacks or some beer. He watches about 15 minutes of it and leaves. You know, and it's just, what is this? What is this weird thing? This isn't a real movie. So it's kind of like, it's a new kind of art. It's like a prank on the audience, but also when I sit there and I watch this edited footage of just people like, I filmed another skit of a guy trying to eat 100 tacos. He was so pumped and he was so sure of himself that he could eat fucking 100 tacos, and he taps out at 5.
Wow.
So I'm proving this like weird sort of science. It's like a weird thing where, you know, these people, they starve themselves all day, and then once we get to like 5, 6 p.m. and they haven't eaten all day, and then we try to like get them to down a bunch of hot dogs or a bunch of tacos, they can't do it, and they tap out in the single digits. And it's just kind of like, you know, this is a weird discovery, and so I'm getting it to film.
So it's a weird thing to have a lot of bravado about, you know what I mean? Like, fuck you, I bet I can eat 100.
Right, and then they tap out at 5, and it's like, wait, what's going on? I haven't eaten all day. Why can't I get past 5 tacos?
Yeah. Well, because you got cameras in your face, and there's the stress of the moment. You know,
I think the camera adds a little bit of anxiety, plus the fact that they just said on camera, "I'm going to eat 20 hot dogs," and
very confidently.
Right. I think once the camera is out, and then you've said on camera confidently, "I can do this." Then all of a sudden your stomach decides again, you know, it turns against you and says, no, you can't. Yeah.
Sorry, dude.
So that's my newest project that I'm kind of like editing piecemeal. Like, even, you know, whenever I go to town to a convention, I bring my camera with me. And, you know, I have a couple conventions coming up in the spring and summer, and I'll bring my camera. And if there's people there who want to, you know, participate, like this guy who I know, he goes to, I see him at Cinema Wasteland every year. He volunteered his son to eat like 2 pounds of salami. And it's like, you're signing your son up for this. That's nice.
You're ruining his weekend.
Right.
I'm going to pitch something to you for this project. Have you ever heard of miracle berries?
No.
It's I will send you a link on Amazon. My co-host brought them one time. It's M-berry, miracle berry tablets, and you take these tablets and you dissolve them on your tongue, and it alters your taste buds for like 20-30 minutes. It coats, and so if you take something like pickle juice and you drink it, it'll taste like sugar water.
Oh, interesting.
And it does this really weird thing. So you can eat things that you normally wouldn't, or whatever, you know, because like it changes the flavor profile. And it's crazy. You end up looking like you're on acid. You know, you're like in the kitchen, like, I wonder what peanut butter tastes like, and you like taste it, and you're like, it tastes like whatever, like grape jelly. Like it really messes with your brain. So it's kind of interesting. And you should make people take those. I mean, it's not a drug. It's okay. It's okay. Because I was like, I'm not taking any drugs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've got 35 minutes cut, you know, from all these different things that I've shot. There's 5 segments, 35 minutes cut. And at 55 minutes, I'm going to pull the plug and say the movie is over. Yeah. But literally, like, you know, I'm improvising this movie as I go. You know, whatever segment I film next, that'll just be the next segment. And you know, I have ideas pre-written if anybody, you know, if I can pitch this stuff to people, if they say yes. Like somebody sent me a link to Amazon of all these different like flavors of weird sodas.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like bacon soda, ranch soda, black olive soda, and it's a whole like pack, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was planning on ordering that package of sodas and seeing like in a, you know, who wants to drink some of these and just film their reactions.
Ugh.
And yeah. So eventually, once I have 20 more minutes of footage edited, and then the movie's done. It's done.
Yeah.
And it's gonna go out into the world, and I'm gonna see if it'll find an audience, and if it flops, if it bombs, whatever, man, I made what I wanted.
Dude, you should pull a Black Christmas, and then so everyone is eating and tasting weird things. Like you said, it's gonna end right at the 50-minute mark. You just pull the camera out through the window, you know, you just keep backing up, like whatever's still happening inside the house is still happening inside the house. The end.
Yeah.
You know? Dude, that sounds like an amazing project, and I'm here for it. I'm telling you right now.
It's definitely me at my most experimental, and just like, again, man, I've been doing movie riffing for so long, and I feel like I've done it. You know, we did 2 Psycho 8 movies, so I kind of feel like I've done that. You know, this was intended to be Magnum Opus 2, but then it just kind of became like a food eating competition.
Right.
And it's like, it's not really Magnum Opus 2, but I can turn it into something else that's unique and different, and it's not horror, it's not narrative, it's not even really comedy, unless like, except for like the stunt part, you know, getting zapped, or I mean, I guess eating a nasty sand sandwich is funny, but there are just like segments where it's just like a guy eating 5 tacos, and it's not really hilarious,
right?
But you know, it's a little mesmerizing to watch, almost like ASMR, but like visual ASMR. I don't know. It's really weird.
I love it because it's a very Andy Kaufman thing to do.
Yes. Yep.
And that's, you know, no one else has to find it funny. You know what I mean? But you're sitting there and you're watching the audience like not get it.
Right.
And that's fucking hilarious.
Again, it's also like Tom Greenish. It's you know, Andy Warhol even.
Yeah.
He would just film stuff for long periods of time, and so you could just watch the Empire State Building for 24 hours. So it's just kind of like, I don't know, this is just my weird experimental project, and if I sell 20 copies, I'll break even on it, you know?
Yeah, I love it.
Can I ask him a question?
Yep. You can ask him a question.
Can I get a cameo in Amityville Doghouse?
Oh yeah. We started writing it last summer, and I mean we were working on it at least once a week, and we just kind of like abandoned the script. But there's like 11 pages an outline. There's like 11 pages of outline written. We just needed an ending, and we couldn't think of one that really like stuck the landing, because it's an absurd, like almost sort of like Naked Gun style, or like, you know, Weird Al's UHF, where I wanted it to be kind of like a spoof movie, but with like a barrage of spoofs, and shit like that is hard to write. It really is, because you need like either a setup, a punchline, a payoff, or you need to think of a gag, and to think of like a ton of those different styles, or you know, that style of comedy writing is really tough. And we were exhausting ourselves trying to think of like, okay, what's the next scene going to be? What's the next scene going to be? Because every scene is essentially a non sequitur. There's no real story, you know, like there's an overarching idea, but there's no real story, because there's no real arcs in these kind of spoof movies. A spoof movie behaves differently than a real movie. There's just, you know, scene, and every single scene has to have
the setup and payoff. Yeah.
Tropes. And that's really hard to write. So we did get 11 pages into writing that. It still exists. You know, it's on my laptop, but we just sort of abandoned it.
No.
I would like to make it someday.
You bring it back. The Cellar Dweller would love to be in it. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, because I mean, we had this whole thing where, like, you know, my buddy is like, you know, he's trying to build a doghouse or something, but he's got no carpentry skills. And so then he just finds one like at the curb and puts it in his backyard. And so now his backyard is haunted, but like, you know, the doghouse, it's, you know, powers only extends to the backyard. It can never really haunt inside his house. So it's only like, well, just don't go outside. You know,
Yeah,
don't go.
it's just glowing in the backyard. Yeah.
It's glowing in the backyard or bleeding all over the grass, and it's just like, okay, well, that's ruining the lawn, but what else is it really doing? It's not really doing anything.
It kills birds that land on it, you know?
Right. It's like, we had a bunch of scenes of like escalation of, okay, well, you know, I found a dead squirrel in there, and then I found like, you know, they find like a dead cat in there, and then they find a whole dead deer carcass sticking out of the doghouse, progressively just like, you know, getting crazier and crazier. And so like, then it becomes, you know, almost like Little Shop of Horrors, where the owner gets sort of mind linked, you know, to the doghouse.
Yes.
And has to start feeding it people.
Like a night swim, except good.
And actually what we were going for, because we had just fucking watched Night Swim, and we were like, dude, that movie sucks.
Oh boy. Wow. I don't normally say a movie sucks, but wow.
Yeah. Let's combine Night Swim with like Little Shop of Horrors and Amityville Horror, and that's essentially what, and like with Naked Gun, UHF style kind of rapid fire gags.
That's pure gold, dude. I'm telling you.
We tried, and we got, like I said, we got 11 pages into that outline, and then we kind of burned ourselves out, because when you're writing like that sort of like at that pace, and you're coming up with like that much material, and you are just throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks. Well, then once you get to the end, you're like, well, how do you end this?
Exactly, yeah.
Why do you do? Because there's no real character arc in this movie. It's just a bunch of stupid scenes. So how do you end this? What is the ending here that would be satisfactory, you know?
Yeah, I mean, essentially like Night Swim, or even the original Amityville, like, just go away. Like, it's like the birds. My son and I make that joke all the time. Like, I love the birds, but it's like, who knew all you had to do was like get in your car and drive away from the birds.
I didn't really think that would be satisfactory enough for this kind of material. Like, it needs to be either like super, super nuts and crazy, or it is that simple where they just like, I don't know, give it to somebody else or something. I don't know. I have no idea.
Put it on the curb with free on it, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Set up the sequel.
We couldn't quite get there. Plus, we were getting into like, we were spinning our wheels, thinking of like the lore of the doghouse, like where it came from and why it's haunted. And then once you have like three people like with conflicting ideas and lores, and they're like, okay, maybe we need to take a step back from this, because we're not coming to an agreement here over the lore of a haunted doghouse. I think we need to maybe take a break.
Oh my god. Yeah, I love it, dude. On that note, dude, we'll wrap this up. We'll move to the last segment of the show, called Hot Takes.
Okay.
It's time to pick some hot takes, and I don't care if you like my hot takes, 'cause these are my motherfucking hot takes. Hot takes.
Now for this, I have 10 different things, A-B choices for you. This is the Deep Cut Podcast, and I would not be doing that name justice if I did not do some deep cuts and scroll endlessly through your social medias years and years back, finding things that you like, you love, you care about, and force you to choose between two of them 10 different times. So, that being said, and you can either just rapid fire them, or you can give the audience a reason. You know,
I could do that.
Let them know why you choose what you choose and why it means what it means to you. Number 1, Don Dohler versus David the Rock Nelson.
Oh, I picked David the Rock Nelson.
Yeah, I figured you would, but yeah.
Yeah, that guy, he's obviously an oddball, but he's a hoot.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of got turned on to his stuff in the summer of 2020 when we were all locked down and quarantined. That guy is so old school. You know, he films his movies and dupes them on tapes and the copies of his films, because he'll just send you like a copy on DVD, but it's sourced from a tape that's been duped. Yeah. So the source material is so fucked up and hard to watch. And so you're watching like a 15th generation VHS tape that's now being like duped again. And so you're like, oh, this is really like my roommate, my one of my close buddies, when I try to show them this stuff, and they want nothing to do with David Rock Nelson. And I can understand it's a tough sit.
It's an
But with
acquired taste for sure.
It's an acquired taste, man. It's like taking your coffee black as hell.
Yeah.
You know, no cream and sugar, like nothing at all, like nothing to soften the blow. It is what it is. And he's a one-man show. That's what I like about him, is he's a one-man show. He does everything himself. He's a writer, director, actor. He dupes everything himself. He edits everything himself. It's just him. It's purely him. It's pure creativity distilled down from one 60-year-old crazy man.
Yeah.
Who just wants to make these things. He plays every character. He recycles footage from film to film.
Yeah.
And he'll dub over what people are saying to fit the story of his newest movie. So he's also very like he just recycles, you know. He doesn't waste anything. Like if you already shot a scene where someone is like out and about on the town, well, he'll just use that same shot in every movie, because now he in his mind, well, I never need to film another new shot of someone running around on the town.
Yeah.
I have that shot and I have it for life.
Yeah.
So again, when you're watching one of his newer movies, it'll randomly cut to something from like 1993. And it's like, wait a minute, you know,
I recognize this. Yeah.
I've seen that in 6 other films. But I think it's very like creative. I think it's very interesting and funny and weird. And also, like, when you send him money, like, you know, you send him a check, he doesn't have PayPal, he doesn't use credit cards.
Paper, straight up, yeah.
You got to look for his address, and if you send him a check, you got to write down which titles you want. You have to do your own math of like, okay, well, this is the price that he wants, and this is the shipping. So you got to write all that down. You got to figure it out by yourself, you know, and then you send him a check with however much. What I did over the summer of like 2020 was I sent him a check of like $100, and I was just like, send me what you want. That's it.
Yeah.
Here's $100. And so my David Rock Nelson collection is pretty big, because I kept doing that. Now I've got about 9 or 10 of his titles, plus Saturn's Core. They're a brand that's attached to Vinegar Syndrome. They licensed a bunch of his stuff, so they put out 2 David Rock Nelson collections on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
But what's funny is, again, it's on Blu-ray, but it's remasters of his crappy VHS quality film. So even though it's on Blu-ray, it does not look any better.
No,
it doesn't sound any better. They didn't fix anything up. It's just now they can fit more. And the thing that's crazy too about his movies is that some of them can go up to 4.5 hours long. You know, it's 4.5 hours of him playing with, like, you know, toys.
Yeah.
Because we know he doesn't have any budget, so when he needs to illustrate like a dinosaur or some kind of big monster destroying a town, it's his hands holding you know, a rubber ant smashing toy tanks. And it's like, again, even though he's like 60 years old, it's a very like childlike way of making movies.
He's insane in the best way.
Can relate. Yeah, I can relate to that, you know?
Yeah, you have you nailed it. That's perfect.
I've met the guy once. I met him at a convention in Chicago.
Dude, he's a monster. He's like jacked too.
Oh yeah, he's a former boxer, and he still keeps up with his regimens. So don't let his oddball behavior fool you. He's not just some, like, you know, cellar dweller. He's not just some nerd in a basement, like, making these weird monster movies.
Right.
He can also probably kick the shit out of you.
Yeah, he's a beast. That's for sure. Number 2, Simpsons or South Park?
You know, I probably, like, maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, would have said South Park. But as I've gotten older, I'm saying Simpsons now, because when you watch some of those early seasons, like up until maybe like season 10 or 11, that to me is some of the best comedy writing that's ever been committed to television. Because the people who were writing that show in the late 80s, early 90s are some of the most clever, like, smartest, funniest people. You know, those people are like Harvard graduates.
They don't miss.
They don't miss. You know, they're from the National Lampoon, so their sense of humor is so smart, so clever, and we don't get that now, because they were sourcing their inspirations from classic comedy from the 60s and 70s, or even earlier than that, like the 50s. And so you have these writers who were in their 30s when they were writing for The Simpsons in the early 90s, but their frame of reference is for stuff that's even beyond, you know, our comprehension now, because we don't have access to that kind of, or we do, but we don't, it's not the same for us. But they grew up, you know, refining their skills based on their, what they're referencing and what influenced them.
Yeah.
So for me, that's a time capsule of some of the greatest comedy writing ever. And like South Park is great. South Park is hilarious. But I feel like they've become too reliant on like topical humor.
Yeah.
Then when you watch South Park from 15, 20 years ago, it's not as relevant. It's not as funny because you're like, oh, they're just referencing something in pop culture that happened that week.
Right.
I can admire that they turned that episode around in 6 days at the time. Like it was relevant and topical at the time. But I prefer longer lasting comedy than pop culture, what's relevant now comedy.
Well, I would say like with Simpsons, like you said, the first 10 seasons, I'd go even further, up to season 16, 17. Like my wife and I just had this conversation the other day. When an episode from those earlier seasons comes on, they're like committed to memory. You know what I mean? You hear one line of dialogue and you're like, it's setting up this joke. This is the episode where this happens. Like, and you can sit and watch it and say it verbatim with it. And South Park for us, like we love South Park, but probably like, the first 6 or 7 seasons of South Park, those ones are like committed to memory. But like you said, they started kind of drifting. Yeah. And
for me, South Park kind of falls off when they started to be able to really incorporate like fancy animation into the show. To me, I miss the cardboard cutout style. I like, obviously I like DIY, like rough around the edges. When they started incorporating like World of Warcraft and stuff, or when they could like, animate certain angles they couldn't animate before. It's like, well, I don't really think that angle is that funny looking. I don't really think that, having World of Warcraft is really that funny. That's more just like relevant and topical now. But then in 20 years, are people going to remember World of Warcraft? Is that going to be relevant?
Right. And
then you go back and you watch an old episode of The Simpsons, and it's not that it's not like, and like, like you watch like an episode like with Homer wanting to buy a gun, like relevant or not, that's a fucking hilarious episode because of everything that happens. The Poochie episode.
Oh my God.
You go to Itchy and Scratchy Land. Like all this stuff, it's just funny for the sake of being funny rather than satirizing what's in the news.
Yeah, I literally have a Homer tattoo of him with the chainsaw and hockey mask, and it says, "Hey Bart, want to see my new chainsaw and hockey mask?"
Right.
Like, it's stuff like that where you'll just endlessly, you're like, this is comedy genius, Yeah.
Well, that's one of my favorites too. Is like I just watched this last month. The episode. There's two. Two of my top favorites are the Carney episode when Homer
with Ernest. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jim Varney does the voice of, I think, Earl or Curl, whatever his name is. And they invite him back to the house and they take over the house.
Squatting, yeah.
They're squatting. Classic. And it's just like, well, that's not topical. That's not political. That's not relevant. It's just fucking funny.
Yeah, it's just awesome.
So, yeah. And so is like the episode when Homer becomes a truck driver after getting into a steak eating competition with a guy, like guys. And so he just like, takes on the guy's job, and that's it's classic. It's just so funny. Or like the Tobacco episode.
Oh,
like,
yeah. With the goats get all crazy like zombies, yeah.
Yeah, that shit is just so funny, and it's not referencing anything. You don't have to have any sense of like what was going on in the news at that time. That to me is just like when comedy is that good, it doesn't have to rely on any references or anything. It's just you can just watch it and laugh. That makes it better. That makes it better to me.
Yeah, you shut your brain off and just have a good time.
Yeah, and it's the same thing like modern Saturday Night Live. Like I like SNL, I think, but I prefer the sketches that are weird and like hilarious over their political stuff.
Right.
Like, I mean, I do like, what they're doing with Donald Trump, and I do like, Weekend Update, but that's not my favorite part. My favorite is when, like Sarah Sherman are doing something strange, or, Bo and Yang that's just doing something weird. I want to see the weird sketches because to me, like weirdness and non sequiturs are way funnier than trying to prove a point like political.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. This one, for the people who are listening or watching or however you're consuming this, might not know that Addison spends a considerable amount of time in a motor vehicle. You do a lot of travel.
Yes.
So this is a travel question because you have to drive all the time. Worst driving weather, torrential downpour or blizzard? Because you are in all of them all the time.
Well, they both have their pros and cons. Okay, I to be honest with you, and this might sound weird, I would rather drive when it's maybe not a blizzard, but snowing over rain, because you can't see anything on the road when it's raining. As fast as the windshield wipers are going, you can't see anything. Like with the torrential downpour, you're screwed.
Mhm.
Plus there's puddles, and like, you know, I live in Michigan, so, you know, people freak out when it starts snowing, and they forget what it's like to drive in winter weather. So sometimes they just get the fuck off the road, and I don't have to deal with them. So, and like, I'm a pretty confident driver. You know, I do Uber Eats, I do Grubhub. I've been doing that for about 5 years now, plus all the traveling I do. You know, I've driven to Iowa, I've driven to Delaware, I've driven to Chicago multiple times, all these places multiple times, Ohio, Pittsburgh, multiple times for conventions and screenings of my movies and stuff.
Right.
And, you know, I've gotten a pretty good gauge as to, like, you know, what people like on the road in certain states and speeds and all that kind of stuff. And, yeah, I think I'd rather drive in the rain than snow.
All right. Clear cut, plain and simple.
Yeah.
Next one, editing or cinematography? Which one do you like more?
Ooh, that is actually kind of a tough one. I think right now, cinematography, because I'm kind of burnt out on editing.
It comes in waves, you know?
You know, like I said, I spent 10 years editing 133 episodes of a movie ripping show, plus I put together Magnum Opus, plus I made 2 episodes of Tromasterpiece Theater. That's a lot of audio editing, and I wouldn't even consider myself like a professional audio editor. It's just, I am one, you know, like I have to do it.
Out of necessity, yeah.
Out of necessity. And I feel like I'm pretty decent at it. I'm not a sound guy, but maybe I'm a pretty decent audio editor and audio mixer. I just have crazy like ADHD for that kind of stuff of like listening and making sure and tweaking and trying to make sure that it's right. But right now, I think I like filming this like eating footage more than I do sitting down with it and cutting it, because like I said, like trying to cut that stuff, I shoot the way that I've been filming those segments is I don't lock the camera down. It's all handheld. And I'll just film one long continuous take of me like walking around the, you know, the person and zooming in, zooming out, and just getting different angles handheld. But I won't ever cut. And it'll just be like 20 minutes or 30 minutes or 50 minutes of one take. And then I just upload it and I lay that one take on the timeline. And then I just chop it down into bits, into what I'm looking for. And so it might look like I have coverage. It might look like I have close-ups, and I did, but it was all in one master like movement.
Nice.
And so it has a weird kind of flow to it where it is very like documentary. It is very like free flowing, but at the same time, sitting there and editing one 20-minute long take actually takes like 2 hours.
Yeah. I got I know, because with the podcast, everything is recorded, baked into one. Yeah, and just boy, yeah.
It can be a lot.
It can. All right, next one. This I actually asked VHS Mikey as well on an interview, but you guys both share a love for both of these things. So, puppets or stop motion?
Stop motion.
Nice.
Just because I'm a King Kong guy at heart, you know, like that original 1933 movie sparks creativity that, you know, when you watch King Kong and you're 5 years old, and then you're just like, I want to fucking do that. You know, like I just want to see, or like the early like Sinbad movies, like the Golden Voyage of Sinbad and the seventh.
Oh yeah, with the Harryhausen.
Yeah, Harryhausen for sure.
And
then like I was a big Puppet Master fan, but I preferred all the moments in the early movies that were stop motion made by there's a guy, his name is David Allen, and he did all the stop motion stuff for Full Moon before he passed away. So. And also one of my favorite TV shows growing up was Celebrity Deathmatch, if you remember that one.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
So being a big fan of like King Kong, Sinbad, Puppet Master, Celebrity Deathmatch, yeah, I'll pick stop motion.
Have you ever experimented with stop motion yourself?
Yeah, but I wasn't very good at it. I didn't have the patience for it. Like, I tried when I was a kid, and because I had a camera that I could just do like frame by frame by frame. But when I realized just how goddamn long it was going to take to like do my own sort of Celebrity Deathmatch with like action figures and stuff, I abandoned ship. No way.
Yeah, it's a lot, man. We did a little tiny like 10-second Tapehead Return of Jacob Cobb promo, and we had little rubber maggots, and I was like, I'm gonna stop motion these, crawling around and going in the hole of the mask, and it took like 6 hours, and it's like maybe 4 seconds of actual stop motion, and then like a title card, you know, and you're like, oh, kill me now. Yeah, I couldn't imagine like articulated things.
Or jumping, or like, you know, like actual battle, you know, or like in Jason and the Argonauts when they're fighting all the skeletons and stuff.
Yeah, because you got to paint out all the like things that are holding them up too, right? Essentially, exactly. So
frame by frame. Like, you know, I'm a meticulous editor, and I can edit frame by frame, and I can edit audio frame by frame, but I'm not built for stop motion.
Yeah. Man, maybe one day we'll lock ourselves in a room and make something crazy.
Well, I'll hire somebody else to do it.
Yeah. I'll check in periodically, bring them coffee.
Yeah.
All right. Next one, Congo or Jurassic Park?
Oh, easily Jurassic Park. Congo's a joke. You know, like I joke about Congo a lot, you know, like you know, they're in the Psycho opens with you know, Candace Bowling at her teenage slumber party with a legitimate Congo board game that I found at a thrift shop like that week. You know, like I just happened to go to a thrift shop and I found that, and I was like, oh, we're shooting Psycho Wave this week. We'll incorporate it into the opening slumber party sequence. Like that was just how improvised that movie was I found that, you know. But it's like missing the game pieces, you know. It's incomplete when they're playing it in the movie. Like they're not playing it the right way,
right?
Because the pieces are all gone. But no, I mean, I did an episode of Rainy Afternoon on Congo. It's more of a like nostalgic sort of like, wow, that movie is so dumb, and so it's pretty boring too. Like that's the thing, is that despite it being a pretty big box office success, like it did make a lot of money. It did.
Yeah, it had toy line and, like you said, a board game, and
a board game. I mean, Taco Bell had a licensing agreement with it, and they sold like volcano tacos and stuff in 1995. But it's not a good movie. It's not a good movie.
Breaking my heart.
But I love the ending with the lasers.
Dude, the lasers are rad. My co-host also, every time I bring up Congo, he's like, that movie sucks. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what it is. I got a super soft spot for Congo. Is it better than Jurassic Park? No. But not even in the slightest. But boy, it's a stupid fun.
I will say that, you know, I think an ideal 90s like monster movie double feature is if you probably paired up Congo with Anaconda.
Nice.
And you're gonna have a good afternoon.
Yeah, I also love Anaconda, and I will fight to the death on.
I like Anaconda more than Congo, but I have both on 4K, so I don't want to say anything.
Is snakes out there this big? All day, all day. All right. Next question: Tom Green, Andy Milonakis.
Oh, definitely Tom Green. I found Andy Milonakis pretty obnoxious.
Yeah, that was a ringer question, but I know your love for Tom Green. Same here with us. We are massive Tom Green marks. I think he can do no wrong. I also think he's an incredible lyricist. Just a sidebar, he can rap his ass off. So yeah.
Well, you know that, you know, before he even did like stand-up comedy or anything like with public access TV, he did like he made a rap album with like a group of friends in Canada in like the early 90s, way before he was on public access.
Well, check the OR, baby. Yeah.
So, you know, his roots are in like, you know, rap music.
Yeah.
And
public gets discounted a lot.
Yeah. And so now actually he doesn't rap anymore, but he still does music. Like he's been doing a lot of country stuff because now he like bought a home, you know, in Canada, way out in the country. And he has a farm with like a mule and everything, and he has chickens and all this stuff. So he definitely has transformed himself into a Canadian farmer away from the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, but he still tours and does stand up, and now he makes country songs. Yeah,
that's, I mean, full circle. You know, you grow up, and now he's. I watched that documentary. You know, he moved out there, and he's just kind of living and loving life, and you know, going back to doing stand up and shows, and it's refreshing. He's a definite like inspiration for a lot of guys our age for sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the total, like, you know, he did the Tom Green show, right? And it was a big smash success. And then randomly, Paramount, I think, no, 20th Century Fox, they give him like $20 million to make some movie, like whatever he wants. Like, he has a blank check to be as weird and crazy as he wants. And, you know, he delivers this product that is as crazy and offensive as what he thought they wanted. And, you know, much to his surprise, it ended up being this big box office bomb. It offends everybody, and he is, left scratching his head like, I thought this was what people wanted from me. I thought this was some sort of like what you were expecting from me. Isn't this like what you paid me to do? What were you expecting? Shakespeare? Like,
Right.
This isn't like, he wasn't about to just make some like drama piece or whatever. It was it was in tune with everything he was doing on MTV anyway. Perhaps maybe he went too extreme at the time, or I think actually probably what it was making an R-rated movie that was like that absurd and disgusting and offensive. His audience members were not old enough to go see it.
Yeah. I also think like, because he broke so many rules with that movie, like he doesn't, if you look at the comedies of that time, and still, even though comedies are terrible now, but like they all kind of follow there's a structure to a comedy film. And with Tom Green's movie, he's like, I don't really care about that structure. Like it's gonna go this way because I want it to go this way. And like your standard movie going audience, their brain is in tune to like, this is how movies are supposed to be.
Exactly.
So, and I think it'll find its like second wind.
It needs to be re-released, on Blu-ray or 4K and all that stuff. But he has no control over any of that. I asked him. Because when I met him, almost 2 years ago, he said that, he wasn't even notified that the movie was like available to stream or anything. Like nobody reached out to him. It was fans telling him, like, hey, your movie it's on the Criterion channel, or hey, your movie's on Hulu, which also means it's on Disney Plus because those two are connected now. He had no idea. No one let him know because they don't have to,
Right, yeah, they own it. It's their product.
Yeah, it's a studio movie. So he delivered his product and they can do with it what they want, but they're not obligated to let him know anything. Maybe he'll get some residuals here and there, but they won't ever, no studio will ever tell a director unless you're like, begging or bugging them, or like unless you're like really in with the studio. They're probably not going to let you know that your movie from 20 years ago is like, oh, it's on this streaming service now. It's on that streaming service now. They're not going to do that.
Yeah. Nope. All right. Next one. This is a little bit of new versus old. So, Sinners or From Dusk Till Dawn?
I will have to still go with From Dusk Till Dawn because I saw that at a pretty formative age, like when you're first getting into Tarantino and you're just renting everything that his name is attached to. I didn't really know that you could do a movie like that where, you could have a movie with two distinct halves, a really cool crime thriller for the first half and then a buck wild vampire movie in the second, and they're, stapled together with arguably the sexiest striptease or sexy dance with Salma Hayek like ever.
Yeah.
I mean, I defy you to find me a scene that beats that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I did really, really enjoy Sinners, but when I was watching Sinners, that's what I just kept going back to.
Of course.
I'm like, man, this is a lot like From Dusk Till Dawn because we have two distinct halves happening.
And the vampire movies.
Yeah. And, but yeah, From Dusk Till Dawn to me doesn't get the love or the respect that it deserves. I mean, it's got its core like cult fan base, but a lot of Tarantino fans don't,
I think what sort of hurts the film is unfortunately Tarantino. I don't think his performance is very good in the movie.
He's very over the top, yeah.
When he is in a movie, it kind of takes away from like, oh, I'm watching what I'm supposed to be watching, quote unquote movie. And now it's like, oh, I'm no longer watching a movie. I'm watching a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Gotcha.
Like when he shows up in like Death Proof as the bartender, it's like, oh yeah, this is like a Quentin Tarantino film, as if it wasn't obvious already. But now it's sort of like, yeah, now he's trying to act, and he's not a very good actor. Like, stick to writing and directing. Like, that's fine. You could stay in your lane. But he's not a very good actor, and that's as a super big Tarantino fan. I love the guy. But like in From Dusk Till Dawn, it just kind of seems like, I don't know who else he would have cast, but he's sort of hurts the film a little bit. His performance is a little like awkward. And also, a lot of the special effects and stuff in the movie were relatively new. Like the vampire transformations and when they're being staked and melting, it's the product of its time. It looks like 1994, 1995, whenever the movie was made. And I think that hurts it a little bit too, but it's also passable because, this is like a grindhouse type of film.
Yeah.
It was sort of grindhouse before grindhouse, but in one movie rather than two directors making two movies. But it sort of was a precursor of things to come.
Yeah.
But I think also because it defies most storytelling structures of you get two different genres in one film, and you don't get that with very many movies. I think it throws a lot of people off.
Yeah. It's refreshing. For me, if you like that kind of thing, then you're all in on it. But I can definitely see how it would turn some people off. I've got buddies who love the first half, and then are as soon as the vampires show up, man, I'm out. Or I've got buddies who hate the opening half and just want it to be a horror movie, like a schlocky, B movie fighting vampires. And I love the marriage of both of them. And for the people who don't like how Tarantino acts in it, at least he gets. I mean, you got a whole nother hour. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, I'm with you on From Dusk Till Dawn over Sinners.
Oh yeah. It's just because in my heart, I'm a lover of sleaze. I'm a lover of schlock. I'm a lover of grindhouse drive-in B movies, and Sinners is classy. And even though I like the movie a lot, I bought the 4K. Yeah. When it comes to schlock and B movie violence and gore and gross stuff, I'm going to pick that.
Also, I'm going to be 42 in June, and I know we're, like you said, we're close in age. We're very close in age. Mm-hmm. Seeing From Dusk Till Dawn, because I remember renting it on VHS when it first came out, so 95 on VHS. So I'm an 11-year-old kid. They rent that movie.
Yeah.
And, there's constant sleaze. And, as a young boy, you're like, oh my God. it really, it's like checking all the boxes. I have nudity, I have gore, I have crazy violence, just so over the top. And it no pun intended, it sinks its fangs into you. And you're just that's the shit. I want more movies like that,
Are there more movies like this? Because it was a mainstream movie, it was released on Miramax, it was put out in theaters. I don't know how well it did. It must have done okay. I mean, they did 2 direct-to-video sequels.
And a TV show, yeah.
And a TV show much later. But, it must have made some kind of dent financially. It must have done something. Mm-hmm. But I think also, at the time, in the glut of the mid-'90s, you weren't really getting movies like that because everything had become sanitized.
Yeah.
So, again, it was kind of audiences at the time were more accustomed to cleaner horror thrillers were what they were calling them, not slashers, not grotesque vampire movies. That stuff had gone away. It was no longer the 80s. It was no longer the heyday of Wes Craven, David Cronenberg. That kind of horror wouldn't really come back until the late 90s, early 2000s when it was kind of okay to be gross again.
Yeah, for sure. All right, next question. Also, 2 movies. Got to make you choose between 2 movies.
Okay.
American movie or Brutal Massacre?
I don't know if I've ever seen Brutal Massacre.
Oh, shit. Okay, for some reason, I assumed David Naughton. Oh, wow. Okay, so it's definitely going to be an American movie for you. I got to send you a copy of Brutal Massacre, bro. It'll change your life.
I think I'm familiar with it. I've just never seen it because it is a movie about making a movie, right?
Yes, yeah.
But it's fictional. It's not
right. It's not a real movie like American Movie is a real movie.
Right. Because I definitely like movies about making movies. You know what I mean? If you would ask me, American Movie or Ed Wood, then I wouldn't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Deal with that. How about that?
yeah, something like that. Because you have fictional versus reality. I love American Movie, but I also love Ed Wood, and it's actually my favorite Tim Burton film.
Yeah.
Or you could even throw in Terror Firmer is my favorite Troma movie.
Yeah.
Because it's a Troma movie about making a Troma movie, and that is, I would say that movie, in particular, was sort of the movie that made me want to make low-budget splatter movies.
Dude, we are simpatico, 100%.
Yeah.
I saw Terra Firma when I was in high school. I bought the 2-disc DVD that Troma put out.
Yep.
Immediately, while watching the special features, my best friends and I wrote the script for the first movie we made. We made a movie in high school called A Killer Night Out, and it was because of Terra Firma. 100%.
Yeah,
Wow.
that movie. Oh yeah, I when I was in middle school, I got into Troma. Like I bought the book, All I Need to Know About Filmmaking. I learned in Toxic Avenger. I read that book and I wrote a book report about that book.
Nice.
And then you could write I had an English class where you could write any persuasive speech topic you could choose. You know what I mean? Like you got to persuade the class to either dislike something or like something. And so I wrote a glowing review of the movie Terra Firma. Again, I was 12 years old. And so my opening, statement was basically like, hey, if you love movies with hardcore violence and gratuitous nudity, like you'll love Terra Firma. And you could hear a pin drop. Like my teacher was horrified, And so I continued my review about why Terra Firma was so amazing and why you should watch it. And she sent me home with like a note that my parents had to sign to acknowledge, like, yes, my son is watching this kind of filth.
Yeah, of course.
But I should have gotten an A for my report. I think I was disqualified or something. I don't remember. But I should have gotten an A because my persuasive speech led to at least 2 or 3 classmates wanting to rent my Terra Firma DVD from me.
Nice.
I won.
Yeah.
And so that my same double disc DVD's been kicked around and handed around to multiple people. It scratched the shit. I've bought in every subsequent, Blu-ray and special edition.
We are getting that.
4 copies of that movie.
We're getting that super cool special edition. Is Vinegar Syndrome putting that out? That I just saw it was announced like 2 days ago or something, and I was
already pre-ordered it.
I was like, yeah, but I bookmarked it. I didn't pre-order it yet because Christmas was tough. But
I pre-ordered that sucker because 4K Terra Firma handled professionally by Vinegar Syndrome, great. Because the Blu-ray that Troma put out isn't the greatest looking transfer.
Yeah.
It's a little washed out, and they took the aspect ratio and they squeezed it to make it full frame. So you're getting stuff at the bottom and top cropped off. And as a person who's seen that movie multiple times, I know what's missing.
Yeah.
I could tell easily just by looking at my TV. I was like, hey, there should be like text at the bottom here, or there's jokes throughout the movie where like boom mics like dip in.
Yeah.
But that's part of the joke. It's not a mistake.
Yeah.
It's part of the joke of like, hey, this is a crappy film crew making a crappy movie. So of course the boom mic is going to be visible in multiple shots. That's all ingrained into the film. So the fact they cropped it and now you don't see that boom mic anymore, you're missing jokes.
Yeah. And that's a bummer.
So the text, like I said, like when the text at the bottom gets cropped out, you can't read it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, you guys, you kind of fumbled this release.
Hopefully Vinegar Syndrome's just blows everything out of the water, and then we're like, this is the new definitive bad boy.
It needs a definitive version. The only regret, or my only thing that they didn't do, was include the R-rated cut as a bonus feature on the Blu-ray. Because I don't know if you've ever seen the R-rated cut of Terra Firma.
It's on that 2-disc, yeah?
I don't think it is.
Oh, okay.
No. Well, it was available separately as a 2-disc. You had to get them separate.
Oh, okay.
It's not on there as bonus feature, but there are deleted scenes. But the R-rated version is only like 98 minutes or 92 minutes, so it's missing like 15 to 20 minutes of material. And we're talking like from the get-go, like the woman who was like reading a book and the killer rips open her stomach and rips out the fetus.
Yeah.
There's a freeze frame, and Lloyd steps in because they shot him on a green screen, and so now he's in the movie talking to you. And so he's like, hey, like you're watching the R-rated MPAA approved version of Terra Firma. And so you're going to see me throughout the movie explaining to you what it is that you're missing out on just by the unrated director's cut.
Yeah.
And
that's glorious. There's
the scene later on where, Lloyd being the blind director goes into a bathroom and starts peeing on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's urine is spraying all over the place. So again, when he steps in the bathroom, there's a freeze frame. And it cuts to Lloyd, in the Troma office, and he's like, to illustrate to you what I'm doing in this scene, here I have a bucket of peas, and here is, one of the cast members from the scene of the movie. and he's like with a handful of peas, throwing them at the cast member like I'm peeing on this guy.
Yeah.
And so that's how the movie plays out, is significant, all the nudity is cut out, all the gore is cut out. It's like you're watching a TV cut.
I need it just for the gags, though. I need that version because
the gags are hilarious because, like I said, it would cut to Lloyd. Either he walks into the frame, like shot separately in a green screen, but now he's in the movie, or it's them cutting to the Troma building and he's doing shenanigans to reenact what you should be seeing but got cut. And so I wish that version could have been included on the Blu-ray release just as a bonus feature. Like, it doesn't have to be in 4K. They didn't have to transfer all that, but just stick it on there as a bonus feature. Like, what's the harm?
Right. I need it, and I'm gonna eBay
it's hard to find nowadays. It's really hard to find. I regret, because when I started doing Tromasterpiece Theater back in like 2017, 2018, I would be at the Troma booth selling copies of Tromasterpiece Theater, and then at the end of the weekend, because this was unpaid, like volunteering at the Troma booth at conventions.
Right.
It just means that you're a volunteer. You pay your own way, your own gas, buy your own food, you pay for your own hotel room, and at the end of the weekend, you get rewarded, but you can grab a couple DVDs off the table. You get like 3 to 5, and they're freebies for your hard work. But I also was making money by selling copies of Tromasterpiece Theater. Yeah. So it was balancing out. I was making money doing my own stuff, selling my own stuff, but also I would get freebies. But for a minute, they did have like some R-rated Terra Firmers on the table, and I passed them up thinking, oh, they'll always have those.
Right.
Not the case. Because after one particular show, they never got him in again. And so I would ask the guy, his name is Rod, and he's kind of like, the leader of the Troma booth for Midwest conventions and stuff. I asked him one time, I was like, so do you think you'll ever get any more R-rated Terra Firmers? And he was like, I don't know. I mean, they don't really... What we had was what we had for a long time, and then once it kind of sold out, I don't think they're making it anymore.
Yeah, because it's like it goes out of print, and it's
just... But essentially, Troma operates month by month with a monthly budget. You know what I mean? So let's say their monthly budget is like a couple $1,000s. Are they going to pay to manufacture copies of an older movie on DVD, or are they going to use the same money to put out new releases?
Exactly.
They're going to put out new releases because it's not guaranteed that dozen copies of R-rated Terra Firma are going to sell right away. They might sell over the course of time, 1 to 2 years over time. But those new releases that they invest money into, those will probably fly off the shelf.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's that's the whole argument with physical media is like when something comes out, especially an indie or, a low budget movie, snatch it up because it's not just going to be there forever. You can't just be like, yeah, and then I'll grab it 6 months from now, or I'll grab it whenever. Like, they're making a limited run and then they disappear. And if you're lucky enough to have one, you're lucky enough to have one. So,
yeah. Like, Vinegar Syndrome will put out like 2,000 units of one particular title. Sometimes that's all they're like allotted. You know what I mean? Like, because they make a license with the company or the producer or whoever, the distributor who owns the title of that movie.
Right.
And so they're only allotted 2,000 units or 1,500 units. And once they sell out of those, again, they either have to strike up a whole new licensing deal and order 1,500 units again or 2,000 units again. And sometimes it's not worth it because they may have sold out of those 1,500 units or 2,000 units the first time, but maybe the second go around, they only sell like 500 copies because those were just the lingerers or the people who didn't get in the first run. So, but sometimes that's just all they're allotted, and sometimes that's what the number is picked by the distributor or by the producer. Like Severin Films recently put out a whole batch of Russ Meyer movies, and I don't know if those are limited. That kind of seems like that's going to be part of their library for some time because they struck a pretty expensive deal. But with Vinegar Syndrome, sometimes, yes, those movies, you got to get them first of the month because that's when their new releases drop, is the first of the month. I missed out on, they put out, in their partner label, they put out this Western that I really love called The Great Silence, and I missed out on it. It's a fantastic Western. Like, if you like The Hateful Eight and Django Unchained, well, the Great Silence is a spaghetti Western that you could totally tell that Tarantino absorbed like a sponge and spat it back out to you.
Yeah.
All Tarantino, eyes. It's the precursor to the Hateful Eight, like, but it's like this really obscure spaghetti western starring what's his name? Not Udo Kier. Klaus Kinski.
Okay.
He's the main bad guy in this.
The crawl space guy, yeah.
Yeah, he is fantastic, and it's a great western if you like spaghetti westerns. And the whole thing takes place in the snow, and so it's like, oh yeah, Tarantino has seen that.
Yeah, he was making marks. Yeah,
right. He didn't think the general public would ever get this on Blu-ray, but but they sold out, man. And I was like, damn it, because I have a DVD, but it's a bootleg DVD from like 10 years ago. We've never, I don't think, got an official, like, cleaned up 4K print. But that sucker sold out on day one.
You just SOL, man. Now you gotta fucking hover over eBay and hope some jackass sells it and doesn't know what they have, No, they know. They know. Yeah, they do. Yeah.
I'm not paying $100 for it.
The scalpers, they buy 7 copies of it and then sell them,
Yeah, $100 each.
Dickheads. All right, last question is a Scream Queen question for you.
Okay.
Linnea Quigley, Barbara Crampton.
I love both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but all 4 of them. I love all 4 of them.
I will pick Linnea just because Return of the Living Dead. I go back and forth between Return of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead. Those are my 2 favorite films, and I love them equally for different reasons. Return of the Living Dead is like a satirical comedy, although the horror works too.
Yes.
And Dawn of the Dead is an action horror, like, black comedy, and it's more like, it's fun, it's funny, but the horror is more like, social, and it has a statement that it's wanting to say. But Return of the Living Dead is pure popcorn, like,
punk rock,
entertainment. It's punk rock entertainment. And so I love both for different reasons. But I will, say that Linnea, she's also been in more movies that I genuinely love, like Night of the Demons and Silent Night, Deadly Night. And I even like, the the David DeCoteau film released by Full Moon, Creepazoids.
Yeah, Creepazoids for sure, yeah.
That's a dumb, like, alien ripoff. I don't care, man. It's a fun one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And it was shot in like 3 days, and she's great in it.
Yeah, I reviewed that on the channel years back. I'm also with you. I'm a Linnea Quigley mark for sure.
Yeah. Although, still, Barbara Crampton, though, I mean, Reanimator, Castle Freak, you can't go wrong with those, man. Like, she's fantastic, and those movies are fantastic.
Yeah. Even, like, small stuff, like You're Next, I mean, she's amazing in You're Next.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying watching her, like, comeback career over the past couple of years. Like, she was in that movie, Jacob's Wife.
Jacob's Wife, yeah, with Larry Fessenden.
Right, that was a really good movie.
Yeah.
And I know she's been producing things like the Castle Freak remake, which was cool. And
she did Suitable Flesh, with Joe Lynch.
Suitable Flesh. So even when she's not on camera, the movies that she's, like, betting on and producing are really good too. Yeah. So, I've been really enjoying seeing, like, that side of her, like, creative career.
Yeah. Yeah, she's rad. I think she had something to do with the Creepshow series as well. I know she was in an episode, but I think she had some sort of like behind the scenes role with the Creepshow series.
It seems like she's been working a lot with Shudder. That Jacob's Wife movie, I think, was Shudder produced, and Castle Freak may have even been Shudder produced as well. So I think she's just in with Shudder, and so it doesn't surprise me that she had something to do with Creepshow.
Yeah. I suppose since we've gone through all the hot takes and I've picked your brain for ever and we had to deal with technical issues and all of that stuff, before we wrap this up, sir, just hit everybody that's listening, watching, whatever, with where to find you, how to get a hold of your all of your stuff, where to watch it, and do the old shameless plug, and then I'll let you go live your life, sir.
All right. Well, I mean, it's just my name, Addison Binek, on like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I mean, there's probably like underscore on Twitter or something, or Instagram, but it's just my name. It's really easy to find. I sell all my stuff on eBay, including like, compilation collections of my movies to watch in a rainy afternoon, and Psycho Wave 1 and 2 are on there. There's Tromasterpiece Theater 1 and 2, Magnum Opus. All those Blu-rays and DVDs are on my eBay page. There's tons of free content. Magnum Opus is free on YouTube, plus all my rainy afternoon stuff, plus like music videos and shorts and things that I've never even really made it to physical media, but they're there. I've been doing this a long time. All this stuff is still there. I go to conventions like Cinema Wasteland in Strongsville, Ohio every April and October. I go to Days of the Dead in Chicago every once in a while, whenever there's a convention, whenever I can afford it, really.
Right.
Because it's an investment. I go to Gross Fest in Pittsburgh every year, every August when they have it. That's a really fun convention. It's made by indie fans, like for the indie fans.
Yes.
These places, they're great because they let you submit your movies for free to play over the weekend, like Cinema Wasteland and Gross Fest. I can submit any silly project I want and almost guarantee they're going to play it.
I love that.
Yeah. And there's no submission, there's nothing, there's
no film freeway business going on.
No.
Yeah.
Unlike Horror Hound or Days of the Dead when they want $60 just to reject you.
Yeah. That hurts real bad. Let me just say.
It sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, so these places are free. If you're an independent filmmaker and you want to send your place, you don't even have to go. You don't even have to attend these places. They want movies. Because these conventions, they go from Friday, they start at like 4 or 5 in the afternoon, and they go all the way till Sunday till 4 or 5 in the afternoon. And they just want movies to screen all throughout the weekend. And it's not up to them. They don't pick and choose based on like preference, or it's not a popularity contest. It's just they want to show your indie stuff. That's what they want. And you can submit it for free, and they're old school, so you got to send a DVD or Blu-ray. For like Gross Fest is fine, but like Cinema Wasteland is DVD only, no digital shit. They're so old school that they just don't do digital. And so they but you're gonna get your movie played, and you don't even have to be in attendance. You don't even have to be there. You don't have to have a booth selling your movie, because people are going to go check it out. Because people come to these conventions, they get their autographs, they buy their stuff, but then they have time to kill. They have a couple beers, maybe get some nachos or some hot dogs, and then they go to the screening room and see what's playing. And even if you're not there shilling your wares, they're gonna watch a chunk of your movie, 5-10 minutes of your movie, and then if it's memorable enough, if it's weird enough, crazy enough, they'll remember your movie.
Right. Absolutely. So do that. Anybody listening, watching, submit your movies. It's been awesome having you, dude, for real.
Yeah.
Despite, like I said, technical issues that drove me insane to the brink of
worries, man.
murder. But you're the man, and I can't thank you enough for doing this. On that note, I suppose we should probably get going, because after all, there's a lot of movies out there, and somebody's got to watch them, so why not us, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for listening to the Deep Cut Podcast. We sure had a blast trying to make you all laugh. You gotta set your reminders and get ready to geek, 'cause there's a brand new episode every 2 weeks. Now that you're done with the show, leave a comment on that shit and let us know your movie prop pick.